I'm gonna assume that you've installed BP2X and now it's the first time you run it. BP2X is a client-server application, so you need to run the host application first. Typically, if you're just a user of the application, this application should be running on the live system or on a broadcasting system. So all you need to do is run the WinUI application, and that's the only shortcut that you should have visible on your desktop. However, since this is a demo, I'm gonna have to run both the server and the client local on my machine. So the remote player host is the first application we run. We wait for it to, okay. We got this dialog box simply because this is the first time I run the remote player host. This means that I don't have a database, a valid database. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna respond with a yes here so that the application can create the schema for the database for me. These are the connection details that the application extracts from the configuration file that was created during setup. You could review those after setup, but for now I'm just simply gonna press on create. This is gonna create an empty database, which means I might have to do some configurations to get it up and running. I'm gonna wait for it to run, and I should have a database very soon. Okay, so the application started, and as you can see, what the application did is it registered the communication channels, the port numbers for communication. It enabled compression and encryption, security session parameter, and it registered the players. So I've got a few players here. Each one of those is a player, and then it attached the first client to these players. This means that the application is up and running. If this is the first time you run the application, and depending on whether you have a plugins folder, you might be prompted with other messages, but typically you could access the configuration from the configure button, and this plugin typically would get a screen that looks similar to this one, where you can specify what you want to set as the default for the plugin. This is the default plugin that comes with the application, but you can have more than one plugin. For now, I'm just gonna skip the setup. We're gonna cover this in another session, hopefully. So if you close the application, it will automatically go down to the toolbar. If I close now the remote player host, it actually goes down to the Windows status bar. You can double click on it to get it back up, and close it, goes back down here. Okay, we'll leave it running in the background. The next thing you need to do is run the client. This should present you with a login dialog box. Okay, if this typically would be like that. So if you start by typing a character, you will get the list of usernames. By default, you've got the administrator account created for you during the installation, so you can select this one. The default password for administrator is 123, and you could just simply press on login. The green background color means that the client was able to connect to the server. Now again, as I said, this is the first time I run the application, so you can see the players are disabled. This is a security setting, so if I go to Tools, Users, and I select the Q player control for administrators, I want to enable that to be to have the players enabled to the administrators, all administrators, so that they can run it from any machine. Otherwise, you can block the players to be enabled to specific IP addresses, and typically the IP address of the playback machine will be the one that is enabled for users, normal users. This is to prevent anyone from clicking on the players and pressing a button or stopping a playback during on a production system. So if I log off and I log in again, you should see that the players are now enabled. So I can click, I change the background color of these counters. I'm not going to do much for now. I'm going to continue setting up things as I get errors or as we come across them and see that we need to change them. There are quite a few settings, but I'm not going to cover them all at once. As we come across one, we will discuss what it means and how to set it up. This is an example of all the different configuration settings that we might you might be able to change. So if you look, these are some of them. Okay, so there are quite a few. For now, let's continue discussing what you can do with the application once you have it up and running. The easiest players to work with would be the players here shown in front of you, the one on the left, this one, and the one on the right, this one. However, you could also use the jingle player, which is also a simple player to do. Now, if you notice that if we go to the media search and we click on search, there's nothing. It's an empty database. But you could still play music because by default, the setting to whether to allow users to drag and drop files from the file system onto the players is enabled by default. So all users can drag and drop some audio file. So if I take, for example, this file, I can drag it, drop it on the player, and I could play it back. This is fine, but what the system has done in the back end is, because the file wasn't in the database, what it did is it went to check whether it's in the database or not. It found that it's not in the database, so it created it with a default category called temp files. And again, this is users are allowed to do that only if in the permission assignment or the permissions, the users are allowed to do the drag and drop thing. Okay, so here that would be, just let me find it for you. So in the permission assignment, you could say okay, that would be the setting. Allow file play not in DB. So this is by default enabled for administrators. DJs can't do that. Now you could enable it for whoever you want. Anyway, that's a security thing. If we go back to the players, now what you typically would want to do is, on a regular basis, you might want to clean up these files or change their category. So I could select the file, edit it, and in the category I would put something like acid and save. Okay, so now if I go back to my search and I refresh, I search for the file again, you should see that the category is acid now. So again, where does this file show up? If I go to my Q player, I click on songs, you should see that there's a single song under acid category, and it's called Disco Partigiani. Okay, and the style for it is a cappella because that's the default. I could change that as well. So in the media editor, I could choose the song and I change that to acid. Okay, and I could save that. So when I go back to my players, I could refresh, and now if I click on acid, the style is acid as well. And we'll see later on, as we add more songs to the database and we populate it with more information, how this becomes useful. So another thing you can do is once the file is in the database, you could actually drag it and drop it in a playlist. So I could have several of them. I have only one file now, but we'll see later on that you could just drag and drop any file. Now you could grab the file, drag it and drop it in another player and then play it. Okay, what you could do is another thing you could do is press on the Q button, and this will actually remove the file from the list and load it inside of a player like this. Okay, I'm just gonna, if you double click on the manual button, you actually clear the queue. So if I have a few items in my queue and I double click on the manual, I would say, are you sure you want to clear the queue? I said yes, so my queue is clear. So if I refresh my queue, it's empty. So this is regarding the players. You could drag a file from the list directly into the player without having to queue it or put it in the queue on the right hand side. So I could just drag it and drop it here and then play it. Okay. Another thing you could do is you could use the jingle player. So if I press on jingle player here under the players tab, what I can do is, so if you go to the jingles, just grab any jingle, drag it, drop it onto any one of those buttons. Now I can press the button to play it back, press the character A or the letter A or the number 1 to play this one back. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you different methods. So pressing with the mouse, what you can do is press A. If I press A repetitively, it will play it. It will just play it several times, one after the other. But each time the second key press is depressed, it will stop the first one and play the current one. So it's gonna sound like this. I can actually stop it by pressing the escape button, okay? Or if you're using purely like touch screens or the mouse alone, you could press the button, then press any one of those, this left button here down there, or the right, the one that looks like the right arrow. It's a stop actually. This is stop backward, stop forward. I'll explain why we have two buttons for stop later on, but just for now, just any one of those will do the trick. Or you could press the other one. Okay? I'll explain later on why we have to. So this is a button. Now you could configure that button further. You could give it a color, you could assign it an icon, etc. So what you could do is right click on it, and I could assign it a color, like a red color. Okay? So now the button will have a red color. So if I have another jingle, let's say I drag, drop this one, I can right click and assign it, say, a blue color, whatever. Okay, so now I have a red one, a blue one. I could have another one which is a green one, whatever, any color, lime. Okay, so it will give you a visual representation. Now for the icon itself, I could modify the icon. I could have this one. Okay, I could have this one. I could have this one, whatever. Okay, so it gives you like a visual representation. Now I could press A, B, E, like.
We choose the songs. We choose the songs we play.
Oh yeah.
as you can see, each time I press a button, if I press the next one, the first one stops and the second one plays. Now this is true only if you have the jingle mix button disabled. Now the jingle mix button is this button here. You could access it from the players under the jingle group of icons, or you could go to jingles and you should see that there's a big button here. It's up to you, it's the same thing. So I'm gonna show you or demonstrate it here. So if I press this one, what happens now is if I press the first button and then the second button, the first will play and the second will play on top of it. If I press the third button will play on top of both the first and the second. I'm gonna demonstrate that. Now to stop them, I'm gonna press escape multiple times, 3 times to be exact. One for the first one, for the first audio played or jingle played. The second time I press escape, the second one stops, and the third time I press escape, the third one stops. So let's start.
We choose the songs, we play.
Okay, so that's 3 times. I'll demonstrate them using the mouse.
We choose the songs, we play.
Remember this one. Okay. Okay, so what happened if I press this button, it does it in reverse. So from the last one played to the first one. If I press this stop button, it will stop the jingles in a forward motion. So if I press A, B, E, it will stop A, then B, then E. And the button here on the left will stop E, then it will stop B, then it will stop A. So it's in reverse. You could do the same using a keyboard. You could press the escape button to stop them in a from the oldest or the first one played like A, B, then E, or you could press shift escape to do it in reverse. So that's these are the basics of using the jingle page. Now the jingle page is a little bit has much more features. As you can see, you have multiple tabs for jingle pages. Okay, and I've got jingle page 1 all the way through to jingle page 20, and each one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows and 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. So that's 20 buttons multiplied by 20 pages. That's about 400. That's exactly 400 jingle buttons. Now you could name or provide give each one of those tabs a name. You right click on it and then you give it a name, say station IDs. Now I'm an administrator, and because I'm an administrator, as soon as I press OK here to confirm my renaming, it will ask me, do you want to set the jingle page name for all users? Now, if you're a person responsible for I would say developing or producing station IDs for your radio station, you might want to upload the station ID to all jingle pages, to the jingle pages for all users. And in this case, you would press yes. Otherwise, you'd be just modifying the tab name for your user login only. A few more settings for the jingle page. You could right click in the empty space here down in the bottom between the 2 stop buttons, and you will get a menu. You have a few options. The first option is a float, so when I press it, it will actually float my jingle page, and I could just either put it on a different screen, or I could just minimize it, move it to the right. I could arrange my screen however I want to make it more user friendly for me, depending on how I use it. And what you can do here is you could just simply use the keyboard or the mouse to have to run or play back the jingles. And as you can see, okay, this is playing back from the other jingle window. Another thing you could do is you could copy a jingle page, you could paste the jingle page. So if I copy this jingle page and then I try to paste it, it asks me if I want to replace it. So let me do that pasting on another page. So let's take jingle page 2 as an example. This is an empty page. If I paste my jingle page here, it will prompt me, because I'm an administrator. Again, if you're just a normal user, you could copy paste from your pages to other pages, jingle pages belonging to your user ID. Because I'm an administrator, it will prompt me to say to which users do I want to paste this jingle page. In this case, I'm just gonna be pasting it for myself, and as you can see, I've got the jingle set up here on jingle page 2. Okay, now I could play them back. Okay, it's just that the jingle page didn't refresh the colors, that's why. Another thing you could do with the jingle page is you could clear it, so you could erase all the jingles. You could reload the jingle page to refresh it. You could use 1 through to 9 instead of ABC, and you could manage other user pages. So if you click on manage user page, it will prompt you with a list of usernames. You could select the username. For example, let's take our player, for example. And the system will say, jingle page has changed based on your request. You are now managing someone else's page. Remember to switch back to your page when done. And this page belongs to the user R player. I'm going to close that. And you can see the station ID tab name has been modified based on the initial setup that I've made before, where I selected yes, I want to change that tab name for all logins. Otherwise, it's basically empty. Okay, so that's basically it for the jingles. Let's go back to the players. You could see here we have the Q player. We have 1/3 type of player, which is called the commercial player. The commercial player is used to play commercials. Now I don't have any commercial set up or any schedule for any commercial. This is why it's empty. Now to get the scheduled commercial breaks or spots displayed, we have to configure some commercials. If I go to my media search, I click on commercials and I press on search, you could see that it's empty. That's because I haven't set up any commercials. To set up a commercial, I could go to the media editor, make sure you have the media tab selected. I'm gonna grab a couple or a few commercial, let's take those. These are some of commercials. I've took the own ones, and these are commercials. Well, I'm gonna drag and drop the file so I can so the system can identify that these are commercials. So I'm gonna specify this is in Arabic. This is a commercial. I'm gonna give it a category called restaurants, and the commercial category here I only have an A. You would use the commercial category only if you're separating like categories from each other, or if you would like the system to automatically separate like categories from each other. In my case here, I'm gonna accept that, but if you're using the import functionality to import commercials from an Excel file or a flat file or an EDI file or whatever, then you most probably wouldn't want to keep that setting. But if you are mixing between EDI imports and your own commercial scheduling mechanisms, then you might want to use that functionality. I'm going to demonstrate how to use it, because if you don't want to use it, just keep the default value here. Otherwise, you should set a value. Teaching you how to use this value basically helps you use both methods. I'm going to click on the button next to the category field. I'm going to press new, and I'm going to put restaurants. I could set up a different category like cars or car dealership. Another category would be beverages. Whatever it is you want, it's up to you. So now here I could select restaurants, because this is actually this is a supermarket, not a restaurant. So let me change that. Okay. And we'll add a new one. Okay, in this case that would be my supermarket category. So as you can see, I have 6 files added. Now you could wait for this dialog box to automatically close in 43 seconds, or you could press the OK button to close it. Now if I go back to the media search commercials, I could just press search and I could see that I have 6 commercials, the category for which are specified as supermarket. Now, having the files identified to the system does not mean you have scheduled the files. The next thing you need to do is to schedule these commercials, or to tell the system when it should play these commercials. Now if I go to the commercial editor, press the commercial editor button, I've got several options. Now the first thing you need to know is that by default I have no customers and no campaigns. Now for the commercial system to work, you have to have one customer and one default campaign set up. The default campaign is just to have some initial values in the system for the system to use when configuring other things. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to I'm gonna just grab a new commercial, which I'm gonna call a default commercial, and have a default client or whatever, and then set up a default campaign for that commercial. After that, I'll show you how we can schedule the 6 commercials which we have just imported into the system. Okay, so what I have now is I've imported. Let me just change the names for those. So I'm gonna call this break in 001, and then break in 002, and then this is, I'm gonna call it breakout. I'm gonna import these 2 commercials as break-ins. So I'm gonna go to media editor, make sure the media tab is selected. I'm gonna grab these 2 files, drag and drop them. I'm gonna specify that these are commercials. This is a break-in commercial, and I'm gonna specify the type as break-in. I'm gonna set up a new one, breakout, as well, since I'm here. And here I'm gonna select break-in. So I've got these 2 specified as break-in, with the media category as break-in and the commercial category as break-in. And I'm gonna grab the breakout one, do the same, instead that this time I'm gonna call this breakout and the commercial category as breakout. Okay, so I'm gonna use the break-in and breakout to configure a default customer and campaign. So here I'm gonna call default customer. So if I go to campaigns, this is empty. I press F5 to refresh. I get my customer. I select it from the list. Okay. I click on new order. I just create a new order. I'm going to call this default order. I'm going to set up a default and in my default campaign, I'm gonna select break-in 001. Now I have the default setup. The next thing I need to do is, as you can see, if I come to my spot editor, I have no spots specified for a particular day. So the system you could define your spots every single day and tell the system every day that I have commercial breaks at 7 a.m., 7:20 a.m., 7:40 a.m., 8 a.m., 8:20 a.m., so on and so forth. An easier way to do that is from the configuration, from the settings. If I select the commercials, I have something here called default commercial spot date. By default, it's 2001-15. I'm gonna set it up as 0101. And click save. And now what I need to do is define a schedule for my commercial breaks to be used as a default schedule for any date where I haven't specified explicitly the commercial break timings. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on songs scheduler. Now this is where you define or configure your radio station, and then you define the grids, the schedules, the programs, and the program elements. And in this case, what I intend on doing here is setting up program elements of the type commercials, so that the system can recognize that at a particular time there is a scheduled commercial break. It will be empty, it won't have any specific commercials inside of it, but at least the system will know that there is a particular time during which it should allow the user to schedule commercials. So by default this is a default station, but what I can do is I can select it, press on the edit button. I'm gonna call this, for example, Fame FM. I can specify an image. I can double click on this box here. Then I could go to what do I call them? Shortcuts. Okay, I have images. As you can see, I've got these types, but I could also specify a PNG. So I'm going to select show me all the files. I can select the file, press OK. As you can see, the file is here. Now there's you could set up multiple radio stations and multiple feeds for each of the radio stations to be manipulated and configured and set up from the same application. For now, let's stick with a single radio station to make it simple, but this logo now should display between the players here. So all I need to do is log off, log in again, and I should see that logo. So I could log in again. Okay, and as you can see, I've got the logo displayed here. Now if I go back to my scheduler, I could see this is Fame FM. It shows me the logo. Now what I need to do is I need to select the grids. My grids are empty. I'm gonna set up two types of grids: a grid for the current programs and a grid for the default programs where if I don't specify explicitly a program or a schedule for my audio files, then the system will revert back to my default grid. So therefore I'm gonna set up two grids. I set up grids by pressing the new button. I'm gonna say this is my default grid, and this is from 0101 2000, actually 2000, okay, and let's say 0505 2000. I don't care much about this one. It could be in the past for all I care. However, my active grid or my explicit grid or my explicit schedules should be defined in the future in future date slots, not in past date slots. So therefore my 2014 for example grid shouldn't be in the past. It should start, say, from 0101 2014 and goes to 31 12 2014. This is just as an example. As I said, your grids can be shorter or longer depending on what you want to do. Or it could be, my grid could be from 1/1/2014 to 31/12/2030 or 2050. Or 2200. I don't care. But to keep the things manageable for you, either make it a full fiscal year, or make it, for example, based on how often you change your programming. So if I have two types of programming, one for the winter season and one for the summer season, I would split my year into two different portions, and I would have season 1 2014, season 2 2014 in this case. For now, let's just leave it as such. As I said, the reason why I'm showing you how to create grids is so that we can define the default schedule for my commercials. And the default schedule for my commercials is set up in the settings, as I said before. If you go to commercials, we said that this is going to be the year 2000, the month number 1, and the day number 1. So if I go to my schedule here, I select my grid, which is the default grid, not the 2014 grid, and I go to my schedule. I could select from here my 2000, and then I could select January the 1st, which is a Saturday, What I'm going to do here is I'm going to double click to create a schedule, and I'm going to call this is my default commercials schedule, and this is a whole day schedule. So I'm going to specify the start time from midnight to 23:59:59. So I've got my default commercial schedule that spans the whole day. Now if I click on programs, you could see that my schedule is empty. I have no programs in here. However, what I can do is I can right click here and I say generate commercial spots, and let's assume that my commercials are every 30 minutes. So I'm gonna say 30 minutes. The maximum duration is 10 seconds. For now I'm gonna leave it as 10 seconds. This is more advanced feature. It doesn't matter. You could have your duration as 1 second and then schedule a 15-minute commercial break in that for this specific commercial spot. However, like in the future, if you are syncing multiple station feeds or multiple radio stations with each other, and you want your commercials, so you have a single programming, but you want the commercials to start at the same time and finish at the same time, you will be defining a maximum duration for that commercial break, and the system can automatically fill breaks if you don't have enough commercials inside the break for any of these station feeds. But for now, let's just leave it as 10 seconds. So what this has done, if I click on programs, this has created entries in my program of the type commercial spot. Okay? So if I click on one of them and I select the program element, I can see that it's a 10-second commercial program element of type commercial spot. See, the start time is hours, minutes, seconds, hours, minutes, seconds. By default, the system will say this commercial should play on time. However, it should wait for anything that is currently playing to finish before it starts, even if this means that it's gonna play after its scheduled time. So let's take this commercial spot as an example. We have told the system that this should start at midnight, exactly at midnight. So the play on time says play exactly at midnight. However, the wait for previous says, wait a minute, if there's something still playing and I still have a few seconds or a few minutes left before it finishes, wait for it to finish and then play. And in this case, the commercial spot will wait for any currently playing song or media file for the duration of that media file until its completion before it starts. And this means that the spot could start at midnight, or it could start at 2 minutes past midnight, or 3 minutes past midnight, or 10 seconds past midnight. So it's very flexible how you want to set up the commercial breaks. Now, by just defining that, if I go to my commercial editor and I click on spot editor, I could see that this list is now populated with entries half an hour apart. And remember, my selected date is January 2014 5, Sunday. So here I could select any spot. If I look at my time, it's 3:34 in the afternoon. I could then say at 4 p.m. I'm gonna define a new commercial, let's say this one, and save it. Okay, and then I will have another one at 5 in the afternoon, and I'll have spot 2, and then I save it. And then at 6 I could have spot 3, and then save it. You could keep on doing that. You could add multiple ones. I could add, for example, saying, wait a minute, but I should have a break in and a break out before it. So I could say break in, break out, and then select break in, move it up 1, and then click on save. But this is very tedious. If I really want to break in and break out before any commercial, what if I remove my commercial now and I delete it, and then I click save? What happens? Nothing. My break in and break out remain there. Okay, let me remove the break in, break out for now, or just simply add this one, say spot 5. Move it up, save it. Okay, now if I go to my commercial player and I click on notify, you should see that I have my commercial breaks at 4, 5, and 6. If I double click on one of them and drag, drop, or double click, I forgot. No, add to player. Okay, I cannot. Okay, the reason why I can't add the spot to the player here on the left hand side so I can play it is a setting which I have to change. So if I press on tools, settings, commercials, select commercials from the list here, you will see minutes to spot start for manual loading is 10 minutes. This means I cannot load my spot, my 4 p.m. slot, until it is 10 to 4, until the time is 10 to 4. Let's assume I want it to be, I don't care, I want it to be 60 minutes. So if I click on save, and I go back to commercials, player, nothing still happens. And this is because I need to restart the application. So I'm going to close this one. By restarting the application, I mean you have to restart the remote player host. So I'm going to right click here, close it, or I can double click, exit, confirm. I can run the remote player host again, wait for it to load. Okay, now it's loaded. I can close it when it's still doing something. Let's wait for it, give a second. Okay, so that's done. I can close it, come back here, log in again, and now I could load my commercial. Okay, so you can see this is spot 1. If I do the same for the hour of 17, I can't. 18, I can't. 16, I can. So that's it's like a safety mechanism, so you don't play your commercials too early. Now to play back this, I could simply press on the play button.
كيلو حبش أمريكاني باتر بول بس ب 4750 ليرة. لشاركوتيه زينتنا بأسعارنا.
So this is how you play it. Once the commercial is played, you can see that the 16-hour spot is now no longer with a yellow background. This means this has been played. Don't play it again, because you could reload it and play it again if you wanted to. Because remember, this is all we're working in a manual mode now. I'll show you later on how you can automate the whole thing so no one has to press any button. So this is how you schedule commercials. I'm going to show you a few tricks with commercials. Remember the case where when we were in the, let's go back to the 4 o'clock, where we set up this one and I pressed save. We want to have a break in and a break out before, a break in before commercials and a break out after commercials. You could do this manually. You could press here, break in, press again, break out, select the break in, move it up, save it. You could do that, but this is very, very tedious. Instead, what you would want to do is when you save a spot to automatically insert a break in and a break out. And I could do that by configuring a few things. First, you go to the commercials and you specify auto include break in, and here you change that to true. Auto include break out, change that to true. Now, how would the system recognize a commercial as a break in or a break out? You need to define a category for that commercial. So here I'm going to specify break in, and here I'm going to specify break out as a commercial category. So this should be exactly the same as the, let me search for a commercial for a break in, as the commercial category here, break in. So break in should match the setting break in. Okay, and the same for breakout. Now you're going to ask me, okay, but wait a minute. We had two categories: a commercial category break-in, and then we had a media category break-in. What's the difference? Well, when we go to now we've defined to the system which break-in and outs we want, but what we haven't done is we haven't defined a break-in and out calendar for the system. What is a break-in out calendar? So if I go to commercials, editing, in-out calendar. This is a calendar where you say, I'm going to call this a default calendar. So from 01/01/2014 to 30/11/2014, I'm going to have break in as a category and then break out as a category. What you could do is say, for example, for Christmas, you could have 01/11/2014 till 31/12 till actually 25/12. Let's leave it till 26. And you could have Christmas, and here you would have Christmas break in, Christmas break out. Okay, and then let me change the default because I think I've made a mistake. This is month number 10, so October 31st, save. So what I've done here is I said my default break in and out media category is break in, break out, and this is from takes it from 01/01/2014 to 31/10/2014. And for Christmas, which is from 01/11/2013 till 26/12/2014, I have Christmas break in, Christmas break out. You could have the same for New Year, you could have the same for any other. Otherwise, you could revert back to the default. So the default here could be something like that. So I could go to 2090, save. So what's going to happen here is if I had a Christmas break in, break out, I would come here. Let's take this as an example. Commercials, break in, break out. Oh, let's just call this break in, and I would have something, and then I would grab the Christmas break in, define it as a commercial Christmas break in, and here this would be break in. Okay, so the Christmas break in is a commercial of a commercial type break in, and the Christmas break out would be a commercial of type Christmas break out, and the commercial type is a breakout. So this is why we have two categories. Now what's going to happen here, once I've defined that I want the system to automatically generate my break-in and outs, and based on a particular calendar of break-ins and outs, all I have to do in the spot editor is press on the save, and it will automatically insert break-in, break-out. And as you can see, I had two break-in entries, one called break-in 01, another one called break-in 02. So this is this one and this one. Now the system will rotate between them. So every time I would, let me remove this one and save. I'm gonna delete this one, save, break-in 1, delete, save, again 1, delete, save, 2. So it's random. It randomly chooses between multiple records you have, as you can see. Okay, so this is for the break-in, break-out. So now if I go to my player, I could see that now I have a break-in and a break-out. So if I play them back,
this just in. It's time to change your old music rotation system. Use Broadcast Power because it's powerful and it's free. Now now, back to our regular scheduled broadcast.
كيلو حبش أمريكاني باتربول بس ب 4750 ليرة. لو شاركوتيه زينتنا بأسعارنا.
Non-stop music 24/7.
The size of a small planet.
You're listening to Broadcast Power.
Now, this is not the power of broadcast power. Actually, broadcast power is a bit different than other systems I have seen. One of the powerful features of broadcast power is once you have specified the schedules, the system can automatically, let's say, you have the schedule and the simplified schedule. The difference is a simplified schedule will only take today's date, whereas the scheduler can show you several. If I select my 2014 grid in my schedule here, I could see, in my schedule I could see multiple days where I can start to program, and I can copy paste things here. So I could, for example, grab today's schedule, copy it, paste it for Monday. Okay, I'm gonna delete this one now. I'm gonna show you some of those features later on, but just let me take a break. I have a phone call. Okay, so I'm gonna start to show you now a few of the features. Now, the same thing can be shown from you. So you see these generated commercials. Okay, can you see them? I've only got those because these are the ones that I've saved or generated when I scheduled my commercials from the commercial editor here. I'll get back to the commercials later on because there are other advanced features. Okay, look at this one. As you can see, as it gets closer to the date, I get notifications that I should play the commercial spot because there's one scheduled at 4 p.m. This happens because in my commercial player I have the notify selected. If this was deselected, I wouldn't be getting these messages, but because this one is selected, I will be getting these messages. For now, I'm gonna just close it, okay, and remove the notify so we can continue with the schedule. So as I said, in the schedule, I could start programming here, or I could press on the simplified scheduler, and I will be seeing the same things which I saw before. These are the three commercials at 4, 5, and 6 p.m. that I have scheduled. Let's say I have a program, and now it's 4 p.m. So let's say I have a program from 4 through to 5:30, some program, and I need to choose some songs. As you can see, in broadcast power, you don't have to insert commercials with your media files, other media files, let's say songs. So you don't have to schedule the songs and the commercials together and ensure that the commercials fall exactly at the same time when they should play inside a list of songs. Instead, BP2X takes care of that for you. It will identify the commercial time and insert it in the right place inside a list of scheduled songs. So typically what you would be doing is you would be going to a program, select program elements, choose the songs, and start dragging and dropping. Okay, now because I have, see, look what happened. I only have one song in my database. I've got the Disco Partisan one. I've selected it the first time, I've dropped it, nothing happened. If I select the same one, drop it again, what I'm gonna do is the system changes the element name and prepends it with a number, and it will highlight both in red. So if I select it and drop it a third time, it will show, wait a minute, this is a repeated item, it's now been repeated 3 times, another one 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. Now I could select those, delete them, and it's 2. I could select 1, delete it, and it's 1. Okay. What you could do is you could also have your file explorer in front of you, and you could select songs, select drag and drop. You could do that. Okay, you could have the window resized. Okay, let's do that. I'm gonna resize the window in such a way that, let's say, it's gonna look like that, and this one could look like that, and I could use that window to drag and drop stuff like this. Okay, that's one way of scheduling. I don't like it, some people do, so fine, that's one way. Now that I've added these two files, chambermaid for example, if you can see here on the left hand side it shows disco, but if I call cham and I hit enter, I get chambermaid. I can drag it and drop it. Okay, so this is a quick search. So if I say Adam and I drag and drop, so I've got Adam here. Delete, yes. So I could use the search feature to quickly find files or songs I want to schedule. Say I want Adam after this one, so I click drag and drop. Another way, I mean, I could actually minimize this one like that and have something like this. Okay, you could have this one, and let's say I want to have chambermaid. Okay, you could do that. Now I want to set up a few other things like jingles and stuff, but now because I have dragged and dropped from the file explorer some files or songs which I haven't identified to the system before, the system automatically, as I said, creates them in a category called temp files. Now I want to change the category for those. Let me go to, I'm gonna set up some silly categories to make them easy for us to identify, but typically, just to give you an example of how things should work, but typically you would want to give some meaningful names to these categories. So if I select these two, I can, and click edit, I can change the category to, let's say, English, and this one I want to edit it and change it to Arabic, just to keep things simple. Now I want to add all these other files. I selected them all, drag and drop into the application, and this is, the category is Arabic. Okay, so 5 files added. I want to add my jingles, so I'm gonna select those, drag and drop. I'm gonna call these jingle with a category station ID. Okay, now if I go to media, I click jingle, search, I've got these jingles with the category station ID. I've got now a few more songs. I've got English songs and Arabic songs. The reason why I have English Arabic will be apparent or evident to you later on. As you can see, because I've played Disco Partisani and Adam, it shows the last played date here in the list. Okay, but for now let's go back to the scheduler. As I said, you could do the programming in this way. So I'm gonna refresh here by selecting category, and you can see I've got 2 English songs and 6 Arabic songs. The style for the Arabic song is a cappella here in this case, but that's because it's the default. The system couldn't find anything relevant in the ID3 tag for these files, so it defaulted them to a cappella. But I could have chosen something else when importing as a default value instead of a cappella. But I'm just not doing that. Just 1 second. Mode quiet. I'm not doing that for the moment just so that I don't complicate things. I'm just showing you how easy it is to do the programming. Now, instead of programming them, programming the list of files or a list of audio files for playback one by dragging and dropping, selecting, dragging and dropping, and saying, oh, wait a minute, I need a jingle in between. So let me go back, say I need a jingle here and a jingle there. Okay, what I need to do instead is I would do something else instead. I'm gonna delete all of those, because remember, this is like an hour and a half program. Okay, what I would be doing instead is setting some rules for these programs. I could say set program rules. I have no rules specified, so I'm gonna add a new one. I'm gonna say, okay, I have some English songs that I want to play back with a mix of 2-2. This is a song, media count 1, save, and here I could specify, I click new, and I could specify category equals English. Okay, it could be the language, it could be something else, but for now I'm choosing category because it's the simplest. And this is a song as well, save, and the Arabic song has a category of Arabic. And then I have some jingles. Okay, there are other settings like artist separation and stuff like that. Forget it for now. You could play around or read more about it from the help file. But if I select jingles here, you could specify which category of jingles you want, and you don't have to change the file location once it changes from one category to another. All you have to do is change its category in the system, and that's it. So the file can stay where it is. You don't have to keep on shuffling files, moving them from one folder to another. Just save it where it has to be saved, and then make these changes of which category it belongs to in the system. Now that I have these, I could press F5 to refresh, and I've got Arabic, English, and jingles. So let's say I want to start my playlist with an Arabic song, follow it with a jingle, an English song, a jingle, 2 Arabic songs, and a jingle and an English song. Let's say this is my program. Now this is one song, a jingle, another song, a jingle, 2 songs, jingle, and another song. And then I need to finish it up with a jingle because the thing can repeat. Okay, if I still have time to fill, I'll show you what I mean. I don't have many songs here, but it's enough to show you what the system will do. So I'm gonna generate a playlist, because if I click on program elements, it's empty. The program elements is empty. But what I can do is I can right click and generate a playlist. What I suggest for you to do is, if you generate a playlist, it's gonna create program elements. I'll tell you what I'll suggest later on. So the system went through it and said, listen, I went through the rules which you have set for me, and I populated the program elements. But I have reached a point where the rules that you have defined are not enough to fill the time for the program that you have asked me to generate a playlist for. So do you want me to repeat the rules? And I say, yes, please repeat the rules. It's going to keep on repeating the rules until it reaches a point where the program elements overlap. This means that the last song is a little bit longer than the 5:30 p.m. in the afternoon. That's fine for me, because the system is smart enough later on during automation to know whether I have enough time to play the song or not, and it can actually remove that song from the playlist. So again, you'll see lots of red. That's because I don't have many songs, so they did repeat. Some of them repeated twice, some of them repeated 4 times, but that's simply because my playlist is my media catalog, or my media assets are just a few. There are a few of them now in the database. So anyway, so this is how the system generated like a list of them. So this is English, jingle, sorry, Arabic, jingle, English, jingle, 2 Arabic songs, jingle, English, jingle, Arabic, jingle, English, jingle, 2 Arabic songs, jingle, etc. And this could be like a category A song, category B song, 3 category C songs. Give me a song from the 1980s, female artist, disco style, whatever. You could choose whatever you want. The playlist could be loaded in the queue by pressing this timer thing. So I could select my playlist. Now it doesn't have a name, it has an A, but I could have named it anything. And then if you press OK, it's gonna be loaded in the queue. Now I'm gonna clear the queue by double clicking. I could do that, or what you could do is, I'm gonna maximize this one. You could simply press automate. Now if you press automate, what the system will do is, I'm gonna just try to shrink it. Okay, so make it expanded, I mean, so we can see what it's doing here. What the system does, it automatically recognizes the list of songs or audio files that it has to play, and it knows where commercials have been scheduled before, and it will insert these commercials between the songs for you automatically based on when they should be played, at what time of the day should be. So I'm gonna press automate, and you'll see that the commercials have a different color in the list, so you'll easily be able to identify them visually. So I've pressed automate. Now you can see the songs, and as I scroll down, you should see that there's a break in at what time? It's at 5 p.m. Okay, so break in, break out, and then the songs continue. Then I have another one at 6. Okay, so the system will, I'm gonna stop it so you can hear me. Okay, just let's go back and check, because I didn't see any commercial break at 4:30 here. Okay, it could be two things. It could be that I don't have a 4:30, okay, which is the case. Then what I need to do is, probably depending on whether I have one or not, I could say 4:30. I need to put these two after each other, okay, and save. And as you can see, it automatically added the break in, break out. Now if I go back to my players, and I'm gonna clear the queue, so I'm gonna clear it. Okay, I press automate again. Look what happens. Okay, so my 4:30 break in comes here. Then I've got the two commercials, and then a break out. So look what happens now. I could, let's say the song is damaged. I'm gonna stop it. So the system will, it play the jingle. I'm gonna stop it. I'm gonna stop it. I'm gonna stop it. Okay, I'm gonna stop it. I'm gonna stop it. Okay. Now, what do you think the system should do? It's not 4:30 yet. It's 4:16, but I have commercials. Well, if I stop it, the system can do one of two things. It can automatically go and use the rules to regenerate some additional songs to fill the gap between 4:17 and 4:30 until it's time for the breaks, or it could play the breaks depending on what settings you have defined for the application. Let's see what it's gonna do now. Okay, what it did now, I'm gonna put it in manual mode. What it did now is it started playing the breaks. This is not what I want, okay? You might want that, it's up to you, you might want that, but for me I prefer a different setting. What I would want to do is, in the automation, do not fill gaps between program elements is set to true. I prefer to set it to false, and I'll show you what this does. I need to go to my programs, my 430 spot. I'm gonna delete the commercials. Let me delete the commercials first. So what I'm gonna do at 430, I'm gonna select those, I'm gonna delete them. Okay, I'm gonna save. I'm gonna go back to my schedule. I'm gonna delete this one. Okay, so I no longer have a break at 430. I'm gonna go back to my commercials. I'm gonna set it up again at 430, so make sure I have 430, new, this one, 2 and 3, that's enough. Okay, so now if I go to my players, let me reload, it should show up now.
Broadcast power. It's better than a tongue in your ear.
Okay.
جبنة كامامبير بريدل 250 جرام بس ب 6990 ليرة. لو شاركوتيه زينتنا بأسعارنا.
Okay, it started playing the spot immediately. I'm gonna clear it again. I think it's enough to delete the schedule, but let me try that. I'm not sure. I have to test it again. No, I have to select the program. Let me do that. Okay. I think that's enough to do that. Let me check. So if I go and to my commercial, I go 16. Okay, there's nothing here. So I do this, save. Okay. Now I have to go back to my scheduler and I have to generate my playlist again. And the reason before it didn't work is because I have stopped the files. Sorry, generate playlist, yes, yes. Okay, so if I go now to my player, now it should load. And before, what I did is I have removed some of the files that were playing. Okay, so now you can see it's 430.
We choose the songs.
Okay, it played the commercials
It's time
again.
to change your old music rotation.
I didn't want it to do that, so let me check if I've done my... I have done my settings correct, but I didn't restart, that's why. So do not fill the gaps is false, true, but I need to restart the application. Let me restart it and we'll try it again, okay? I might have to move the time back a little bit, but that's fine. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm gonna exit from here, I'm gonna stop the application, I'm gonna restart the application so that it picks up the new settings. Not all settings are reflected immediately. This setting, basically you need to reload the application for it to pick up. 1, 2, 3, let's make sure it's reloaded. Still loading. Okay, now it's loaded. It started. Okay, now I'm gonna go to my scheduler. I'll choose my grid, my schedule, and here I'm gonna delete this one. I'm gonna regenerate it from the commercials. Spot editor at 430, add one, add the second one, save it, and let's go to the to regenerate. So generate my playlist, yes, yes. Okay, now if I go to my players, Q player, and I automate. Okay, so you could see that this is at 4:30. I'm gonna start stopping. Okay, now if I stop this one, it shouldn't play the commercials. Okay, did you see what it did? It picked up a song, because it's not the time for a commercial now. So I'm gonna stop it. See what it did? It picked another song. And I typically prefer this approach. I don't want to remove or edit these errors that have come up, because I want you to see how we identify what is happening and how to fix it in the application. So I'm going to leave those for now. And I think this is a good start to begin with. And I hope that you're gonna comment to this video and ask me further questions so I can demonstrate how they're done in the application.